Taiwan, you gotta love it. It's small, but it packs a big punch in how many different ways it can blow your friggin' mind. For example, it shares a lot of culture with mainland China, but also Japan. It can be fast-paced, but also slow. It can be incredibly peaceful, tranquil, and calm, but also destructive and tragically vicious. What's so fun about Taiwan is how much there is to learn about the island and yourself. I mean, how adaptable are you really? Will you ever get used to all these unfamiliarities?
Oh, hey there. How's it going? Didn't see you there. Come on in. Make yourself comfortable if you can. I know it's a little bit hard talking to a guy sitting on the toilet, but this is my sixth segue to my video about things I'm not used to about Taiwan and Asia. A lot of it kind of starts here in the bathroom. And no, I didn't steal it from Lucas. This was on my phone of list of ideas for YouTube before. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is that, well, you might be noticing that I'm sitting on a Western toilet just as how you'd expect it, except it's a little bit different. You see, this could be a squat toilet, and I'm from the West. We never learned how to squat, which is a lot different from Taiwanese people who could pretty much squat flat-footed from birth. I can't do it. Like, I could try, but my legs are physically incapable of doing that without falling backwards. So when you're in a public place, it's something to be mindful of because it might not always have a Western toilet, and it can be a messy affair. We'll say that. The other thing about this particular toilet and most toilets in Taiwan is that it can't handle a whole lot of material, we'll say, and so a lot of Taiwanese people will tell you not to throw tissue into the toilet. You have to throw it into the bin. I'm not used to that for obvious reasons because in the West we throw it into the toilet and it can make your bins, well, you can use your own imagination for that. Another thing about the tissue paper is, if you take a look, it's not in a roll. This is what in the West we would typically use for our nose if we sneeze or something like that. Although Taiwanese people do use rolls, this is something that Taiwanese people typically use for just about everything. And it works, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm used to this, it's just a fun little snippet of information. Also something that I'm used to, but you might not be used to, is as you can see, the shower and the toilet are right next to each other. There's nothing separating it. What's great about this is it makes it super easy to hose down your bathroom and it's easy to clean. One other thing that I've noticed about Taiwan and being inside their bathrooms is that when you're occupying the area, Taiwanese people won't knock first. They'll try and open the door, which gives the person on the inside, like me, a mini heart attack, which a lot of you guys coming from the West are probably not going to be used to because we're typically used to someone knocking. And then even that freaks me out because in the West, we just don't have a response. I guess you could say, I'm in here, someone's in here. But in Taiwan, I typically wait until they stop jiggling on the door, or I just frantically say, Yoren, 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 until, the tears go away. Another minor thing I noticed when talking to a lot of Taiwanese people is how comfortable they are talking about what they have done or will do in the bathroom, and even asking me about that. You see, Western people are typically more private, and we don't talk about things that we just did in the bathroom. I feel like I'm getting backed up into a question I don't want to answer. See what I'm doing there? It's kind of uncomfortable to talk about that stuff for Western people. I have had Taiwanese people ask if I've been to the bathroom for a long time. They'll ask they'll infer what I've done in there. Incredibly uncomfortable. You will have a slightly different experience if you're going to move to China, especially if you use a lot of public bathrooms there. This is typically only found in older train stations or places like that, but some of those bathrooms don't even have doors in the stalls. In fact, they might not even have walls. They'll be sort of half walls, and you just have to put your blinders on and walk through people doing their thing with no doors. Anyways, the next thing I wanted to talk about, we're gonna have to hop on the scooter and I'll explain it there.
Okay, good morning everybody. I am now on my way to work, and I've mentioned riding and driving a few times on my channel, and I came to realize when I was thinking about it the other day, whether or not I should include this on my list of things I'm not used to, that I've actually got more experience riding and driving here in Asia than I do back in my home country of Canada, which is crazy to think about. Although, yes, I am used to riding here, driving here. In fact, I probably drive more in a Taiwanese style than I do in a Canadian style, which is not a very nice thing for Canadians. If I go back home, people often think I'm crazy for driving the way this way. People often still do things that give me like a scare, that make me kind of freak out a little bit, because you can't anticipate what they're going to do. And what it is, and this is particularly true of scooters, they'll just sort of like drive onto the road without looking. They don't look, they just go onto the street hoping that no one's gonna run them down. And in order to avoid cars and trucks and things, they'll often just sort of hug the shoulder of the road so that they can kind of be out of the way, so to speak. But I don't know how effective that is. I have seen multiple accidents where people will, run through a light or run through whatever, or run onto the road, and obviously they get hit. And I just don't understand this behavior. It happens so frequently. That's one driving behavior I'm really still not used to. But I'm getting used to it. You want to know how you can tell if someone's just arrived in Taiwan is when they complain about the driving. So enough about that. Let's head back home and talk about the weirder side of things.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, riding here does take some getting used to, but it is still a ton of fun. One other thing I can't quite get used to is the language. Yes, it takes time to learn how to speak Chinese, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. It's how to get used to the way they associate certain objects or ideas with positive or negative emotions. Take, for example, eggs. Now, I love eggs, they're great, but in Chinese, it's often used as an insult or some kind of bad word. And in English, coincidentally, we have the exact same insult. It's not really an insult, it's not that bad, but we might call someone a bad egg, or in Chinese, 坏蛋. It's exactly what it means. That's about as far as it goes for egg insults in English, but in Chinese, they actually take it a step further. They have words like lazy egg, which means exactly what the name implies, someone who is lazy. You could call someone a tortoise egg, which you might call a stupid person. Or a rolling egg, which is to tell someone to F off. Or you might call someone a mixed egg, which is like calling someone a bastard. The one you'll probably hear most often, though, is stupid egg. And if you can get that mixed up with just eggs being associated with such negative things, it makes you wonder when you're learning the language, what other things do I not know or am not realizing I'm saying because I just don't understand the negative implications they might have. Anyways, I gotta get on to the next topic before I drop raw egg all over my floor. Okay, so it's time now to check the top comments from last week's video, which was about do I hate China after 4 years of living there, which was a fun discussion to have, and a lot of the comments that you guys left down there were really great, and the discussions you had are really important, and I love reading them, and I encourage that even more. If you want to check that video out, you can click on the top right-hand corner of your screen. And the top comment comes from Abby Young. He says, oh, it's in Chinese. Why do you guys do this to me? Speaking Chinese on camera is so difficult for me. I'm really self-conscious about it because it sounds terrible. But he does say, 不讨厌中国人，但讨厌中国政府的隐瞒极不诚实. And basically, for my English audience, all he's saying is that don't hate the Chinese, but hate the Chinese government and how they've concealed or kept secret their goings and ons about what's going on right now in the world, which I can't say on video lest YouTube takes all my money. But basically he's saying that a lot of his dislike, I don't want to say hatred, but maybe it is hatred, is towards the Chinese government and how they've handled things. And I tend to agree with him. I think he accurately summarized my video in those few phrases. I think he also mirrors Taiwanese thoughts as well. A lot of Taiwanese people I meet don't hate the Chinese people themselves. It's more their distrust of the government and the way that it treats Taiwan is not something that Taiwanese people really appreciate. So I've got an Instagram account if you want to follow more of my day-to-day life at Prozzie_SR. I also have a Patreon page with a bit of extra content there. You can support me there. And other than that, stay positive, keep your stick on the ice, and also stay safe, wash your hands, self-isolate if you're in the part of the world that has to do that. Fortunately, I live in Taiwan where things aren't that bad and everything is still open and running and life is seemingly normal, and that's a really good thing. I feel very fortunate to be able to live here in Taiwan. But you know, if you're in an area that is being affected by what's going on,
I hope that you stay healthy and happy, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. We're gonna have to hop back on the scooter. Fuck me.
For YouTube before. Shit, I did it. I'm used to this. It's just a fun little snippet of information that maybe, I don't know, it's not interesting. I'll cut that out.
3, 2, 1.
Abby Yang! Did I say Abby Yang? You did say it. Do you want to like pause?
Abby, yeah.
Okay.
A mini, I was gonna say fucking. Shit. Heart attack, and I'm. Shit. I can cut it and make it good. Alright. Heart attack, and a lot of you guys from coming from the West might not be in. Heart attack, and a lot of you don't fucking laugh out.
Okay, sorry.
You're fucking me up, man. Damn, that went a lot better than I thought it would.
That's good.